Hello and welcome to Breaking Bread with Rivaaj Maharaj, where nothing is off the table. For today's episode, I wanted to talk about Bangladesh's, National Genocide Day that was recently observed, and the comments made by the new Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Tariq Rehman. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Now, Bangladesh marked Genocide Day on, I think it was the 25th. And the new Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Tariq Rehman, has echoed some sentiments which within the last 2 years seem to be really unfamiliar. Now, I've done a video on the Bangladesh War of Liberation, and I'll put it up here. Have a look. But effectively what happened was, with the ousting of Sheikh Hasina from Bangladesh, you had Mohammed Yunus come in to form the interim caretaker government. And Mohammed Yunus was somebody put in there by the Biden administration. The Americans have insisted on regime change within Bangladesh. They're trying to use it to help destabilize India as well. And by getting Sheikh Hasina out and putting this puppet Mohammed Yunus in, a lot of things began to change within Bangladesh. Bangladesh took on a very sinister tone. You had communal riots against minorities, ethnic Hindus that were living in Bangladesh were being massacred. You then had Bangladesh playing down the role of the Indian army in the liberation war of Bangladesh. Now, have a listen to my video. I talk about a few instances. The Indian army was responsible for liberating the Bangladeshi people at the expense. Richard Nixon and Henry Kissinger, together with the British, were really up in arms against the Indians and, threatening and sending armadas and ships. The Americans sent their armada to the Bay of Bengal. The British had dispatched their fleet. However, Brezhnev had dispatched his fleet. And once the Soviet fleet was dispatched, the British, with their tail between their legs, went and parked off their fleet in Madagascar to see what was going to happen. The Americans pulled out of the Bay of Bengal. The Indians subsequently went in and, Bangladesh was created. General Jacobs, a Jewish general within the Indian army, was responsible largely for helping with the liberation of Bangladesh. You also have, Mossad that had helped in training the Mukti Vahini. A lot of people don't want to admit it. A lot of Bangladeshis don't want to admit it. Indira Gandhi had backdoor talks with Golda Meir, who was then going to send a shipment of arms to the Shah of Iran, but they were rerouted to India. And that is why the partnership between India and Israel is so strong. However, under Mohammed Yunus, all these facts were denied. India was said to have played a very, almost like, India voiced vocal support. That was it. The Pakistanis, that had Operation Searchlight, go and read up about it. The millions of Bangladeshi women that were raped, murdered, the men and kids that were tortured, and it was a genocide. Really, it was a genocide. And Mohammed Yunus flipped that whole script. You had flights resuming between Bangladesh and Pakistan. You had military, drills being conducted between the two. You had Jamaat Islamiyah, which was largely responsible for helping perpetuate the genocide against its own people on behalf of the Pakistanis. They coordinated with the Pakistanis when Operation Searchlight was going on, and they were killing and massacring their own people. They were thrust into the fore, and they are the ISI's conduit of control within Bangladesh. They had risen to astronomical heights because Sheikh Hasina was no longer there, and all sorts of unsavories were unleashed in Bangladesh. You've now had Khaleda Zia's son Tariq Rehman that's come in as Prime Minister, and he has pushed back and said that what the Pakistanis did was a genocide, and it was appalling. The atrocities were absolutely appalling.
Welcome back. Now, Pakistan's closeness to Bangladesh continues to grow since 2024 when Sheikh Hasina, remember, was ousted from power. 2 years on, there's a new elected government in Dhaka and it is again turning the clock back as it marks the anniversary of Operation Searchlight as Genocide Day. The Bangladesh's Prime Minister Tariq Rehman recalled the atrocities committed by Pakistan. He said, and I quote, "The Pakistani occupation forces carried out one of the most heinous genocides in history against the unarmed people of Bangladesh. On this day, 55 years ago, the Pakistani army massacred several teachers, intellectuals and civilians at various places, including at the Dhaka University. And this marks the formal beginning of the Liberation War, which ended with Pakistan's humiliating defeat in December 1971. And according to reports, millions of people ended up dying in Pakistan's atrocities." Now, paying tribute to the martyrs, Tariq Rehman stressed the importance of conveying the significance of the genocide to future generations. To commemorate this day, a 1-minute symbolic blackout was conducted. Additionally, educational institutions organized discussions on the genocide and liberation war. And if we look at the tenure of the Mohammed Yunus-led interim government, then the Bangladesh and Pakistan have boosted their ties like never before, especially at India's expense. In February 2025, both countries resumed direct trade for the first time since 1971. High-level military interactions between the two sides also resumed. Additionally, Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar completed a 2-day Dhaka visit last year, marking the first visit by a Pakistani Foreign Minister to Bangladesh in over 13 years. And also direct flights between the two countries have resumed. The Tariq Rehman's direct attack on Pakistan has also assumed significance given the BNP's own track record. Now, during its earlier stint in power from 2001 till 2006, the late Bangladeshi Prime Minister Khalida Zia was perceived to have a favorable policy towards Pakistan. Now, during this period, concerns were raised about the growing activities of anti-India terror outfits like Ulfa on Bangladeshi soil. Now, this is not all. In a clear sign of overture towards India, Bangladesh has now thanked New Delhi for its pivotal role in the liberation war.
As a citizen of Bangladesh and someone who believes in 1971 and our freedom, of course, the help that India extended towards us, we will appreciate it always.
Now, the BNP Supremo's remarks are also a sign of Bangladesh's changing political landscape. In the recently concluded general election, the right-wing Jamaat-e-Islami made some major inroads by winning its highest ever tally of about 68 seats. Now, on the campaign trail, the BNP was at loggerheads with Jamaat for its nefarious role in 1971. And this, of course, was seen as BNP's attempt to occupy the centrist space traditionally occupied by the banned Awami League. Only time will tell whether Rahman's anti-Pakistan stance will translate into a more substantial pro-India pivot.
It's a step in the right direction. What it means for India, only time will tell. However, it's important that this history of Bangladesh is not rewritten, because it was at risk of being rewritten under Mohammed Yunus. It was really being at risk of being rewritten. And 50 years from today, you would have never heard of the Bangladesh genocide. It would have been much like, what the Turkish say about the Armenian genocide. It never happened, The Armenians know it happened, the Turks know it happened, but it's been whitewashed to such an extent that, it's a taboo subject now, everybody's terrified of upsetting, his royal stupidity, Erdogan. And because of that, nobody wants to admit that this is what the Turks did. It's common knowledge. They've done it everywhere. So it's a good thing that Tariq Rehman has done, because if anything, irrespective of your ties with India or, your relationship with India, you owe it to your own people. You owe it to your ancestors to make sure that this is never forgotten. because Bangladesh did an absolute 180 by then embracing the people that actually came in and butchered and massacred their own. So, this was a move in the right direction. I hope this government continues along this same path that it has embarked on, and I hope it does what is in the best interest of its people rather than play politics and try and line their own pockets and malign their own societies. So I want to thank you for spending time with us. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Please remember to like, share and subscribe, as it helps us with the algorithm and it helps our channel to grow.